everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Gretchen and today I am here with my August 2024 anticipated releases. Now there are several books that are coming out this month that I'm really excited about, but what's interesting is that this month is really front loaded where the bulk of the books that I'm interested in are being released in the very first week of August. So that's a little odd for me because it's usually pretty even throughout the month, but this is the first time that I've done a video like this where everything has really been up front. So I will also say that I know September is usually a big book release month and I expect there to be a lot of releases next month that I'm excited about. I've already started to put that list together and it's definitely shaping up to be better than August, but there are definitely some titles coming out in August that I want to talk about with you today. So the first week that we have releases is going to be Tuesday, August 6th. And we have one that I am very much looking forward to, but this might not be a book for everybody because it is a sequel, and that is And So I Roar by Abi Daré, and this is being published by Dutton. Now this, for those of you that aren't aware, is a follow-up to The Girl with the Louding Voice. That came out, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and I loved that book. I thought it was so good, and I don't really want to give the synopsis away for And So I Roar because there might be some of you out there that still want to read The Girl with the Louding Voice, and having read the synopsis on And So I Roar, there are definitely spoilers on it. So what I will say about And So I Roar, it does seem like it picks up right after where The Girl with the Louding Voice ended, so we can jump right back into Aduni's world and figure out where her life takes her from there. Now the other book that I'm excited about is one that is actually going to be a great pick for any of you that are participating in Women in Translation Month, because we have a new one from Claudia Piñeiro called Time of the Flies, and this is translated by Frances Riddle, and this is being published by Charco Press. Now what this says, and this book just sounds so good and fun, it says 15 years after killing her husband's lover, Inez is fresh out of prison and trying to put together a new life. Her old friend Manka is out now too, and they've started a business, FFF, or Females, Fumigation, and Flies, dedicated to pest control and private investigation by women for women. But Senora Bonar, one of their clients, wants Inez to do more than kill bugs. She wants her expertise and her criminal past to help her kill her husband's lover too. That just sounds really fun. It sounds like it's going to have a lot of dark humor, and I really love Claudia Piñeiro's writing. I read my first Piñeiro this year with Elena Knows, and I really enjoyed that one. So this was a must add whenever I saw that it was being published this month. Now, kind of staying on the same theme with a book that might have a lot of dark humor and violence, we have House of Bone by Gabino Iglesias, and this is being released by Mulholland Press. Now, this book says, for childhood friends Gabe, Xavier, Tavo, Paul, and Bimbo, death has always been close. Hurricanes, car accidents, gang violence, suicide. We are surrounded by ghosts was Gabe's grandmother's refrain. But this time is different. Bimbo's mom has been shot dead, and Bimbo swears to kill the guys that did it, and they all agree. Feral with grief, Bimbo has become unrecognizable, taking no prisoners in his search for names. Soon they learn she was gunned down by guys working for the drug kingpin of Puerto Rico. No one has ever gone up against him and survived. As the boys strategize, a storm gathers far from the coast. Hurricanes are known to carry evil spirits in their currents and bring them ashore, spirits which impose their own order. Blurring the boundaries between myth, mysticism, and the grim realities of our world, House of Bone and Rain is a harrowing coming-of-age story, a doomed tale of devotion, the afterlife of violence, and what rolls in on the tide. Now, this is an author I have never heard of. I don't know if this is a debut or not, but that sounds really intriguing to me, and my curiosity is definitely piqued. I love the idea of the threat of violence against the threat of weather, and this also sounds like it's going to maybe have a little bit of magical realism in it. I'm not certain of that, but it definitely opens up the door for that, talking about ghosts and spirits, so I definitely want to make sure that this stays on my radar. So another genre of books that I really enjoy, but I don't talk about too much on my channel, are dystopians, and we have one coming out this month called Hum by Helen Phillips, and this is being released by Simon & Schuster. And this one says, in a city addled by climate change and populated by intelligent robots called Hums, May loses her job to artificial intelligence. In a desperate bid to resolve her family's debt and secure their future for another few months, she becomes a guinea pig in an experiment that alters her face so it cannot be recognized by surveillance. Seeking some reprieve from her recent hardships and from her family's addiction to their devices, she splurges on passes that allow them 3 nights respite inside the Botanical Garden, a rare green refuge where forest, streams, and animals flourish. But her insistence that her son, daughter, and husband leave their devices at home proves far more fraught than she anticipated, and the lush beauty of the Botanical Garden is not the balm she hoped it would be. When her children come under threat, May is forced to put her trust in a hum of uncertain motives as she works to restore the life of her family. Written in taut, urgent prose, Hum is a work of speculative fiction that unflinchingly explores marriage, motherhood, and selfhood in a world compromised by global warming and dizzying technological advancement, a world of both dystopian and utopian possibilities. This book has a really intriguing premise to me, and I really love a good dystopian, but I really like literary dystopian books, and those can be few and far between, so I have high hopes that this is going to deliver, and we will see. The next book that we have coming out the week of August 6th is one that is from an indie press that I love, so that immediately piqued my interest, and that is called Jellyfish Have No Ears by Adèle Rosenfeld, and this is translated from the French by Jeffery Zuckerman, and this, like I said, is being released by Grey Wolf. So this is another book that would potentially be a great pick for Women in Translation Month, and the synopsis also leads me to believe that this is going to be quite an emotional and inspiring read. So it says, since she was little, Louise has not been quite hearing and not quite deaf. Her life with this invisible disability has been one of in-betweenness. After an audiology test shows that almost all her hearing is gone, her doctor suggests getting a cochlear implant. The operation will be irreversible, making the decision all the more fraught. The technology would give Louise a new sense of hearing, but it would be at the expense of her natural hearing, which, for all its weakness, has shaped her unique relationship with the world, full of whispers and shadows. So that definitely sounds like it is going to be a tough read and likely an emotional one. So I am definitely looking forward to this one. And Grey Wolf is a really interesting press because they are so good at curating their books, and every time I read one of their books, they always get me thinking, and I think that this is one that sounds really interesting and has the potential to be a great read. And last but not least, for the week of August 6th, I want to talk about a re-release. Now, if you have watched any of my anticipated releases videos as of late, you'll know that I have been finding that there have been a lot of re-releases that have been popping up, and I am so excited because we have another one from McNally Editions, and I'm especially excited about this one because this is a Booker Prize nominated author. And this is called The Stepdaughter by Caroline Blackwood. And this is one that just immediately was one that I read the synopsis and I was like, this is going to be a must read for me. So it says, a lavish Upper West Side apartment is the site of a familial Cold War about to enter a phase of dangerous escalation. Jay is a lonely woman without even the luxury of being alone. Her husband has fled to Paris with his latest flame, but he's left Jay not only with their own 4-year-old daughter Sally Ann, but with the sulky, cake mix addicted 13-year-old Renata, a leftover from his previous marriage. The presence of a pert au pair, Monique, serves only to make Jay feel more isolated and self-conscious. Writing letters in her head to imaginary friends, Jay delights in dwelling on the hapless Renata who invites a kind of cruelty. This is an invitation Jay fully intends to take up, and like so many stepmothers before her, she will find that wickedness, once indulged, is a difficult habit to kick. A mordant black splinter of a book, Caroline Blackwood's first novel stands as proof positive of her eternal mastery and mockery of the darkest depths of human feeling. So a wicked stepmother trope? Yes, absolutely. Sign me up. That sounds fantastic. And I have been wanting to get to a Caroline Blackwood for a while. I think, what's the book that she was longlisted for? Great Granny Webster. So I am looking forward to finally getting to one of her books, and why not start with her first one? Then we move on to the week of August 13th. And the first one that I want to talk about is Hera by Jennifer Saint, and this is being published by Flatiron. And this says, when the immortal goddess Hera and her brother Zeus overthrow their tyrannical father, she dreams of ruling at his side. But as they establish their reign on Mount Olympus, Hera begins to see that Zeus is just as ruthless and cruel as the father they betrayed. While Zeus ascends, Hera is relegated to the role of wife and mother, a role she never wanted. She was always born to rule, but must she lose herself in perpetuating this cycle of violence and cruelty? Or can she find a way to forge a better world? Now, Jennifer Saint has made a name for herself over the last few years with several Greek retellings. I think she did one for Ariadne and maybe Electra. And although I prefer my Greek retellings to be a little more literary in the likes of maybe Madeline Miller or Natalie Haynes, Jennifer Saint will definitely do in a pinch, and I would love to know more about Hera, so this one definitely piqued my interest. The next book that is being released the week of August 13th is The Axmans Carnival, and this is being released by Catherine Chidgey, and this is also being published by Europa Editions. Now, the reason that I immediately put this book on my list is because Catherine Chidgey is an author that has been getting a lot of buzz over the past few years. She was longlisted, I believe, for the Women's Prize a few years ago for Remote Sympathy, and last year when people were talking about the Booker Prize or the Women's Prize nominees, they were talking about Pet by her as well. So she is a well-known author, and she does get a lot of prize buzz with her writing, and most people really seem to enjoy it. The other reason why this piqued my interest is this sounds like a really weird an odd type of story, and it seems to be kind of outside of what her usual realm of writing is. So what it says is, Tama is just a helpless chick when he is rescued by Marnie, and this is where his story might have ended. If it keeps me awake, says Marnie's husband, I'll have to wring its neck. But with Tama comes new possibilities for the couple's future. Tama can speak, and his fame is growing. Outside in the pines, his father warns him of the wickedness wrought by humans. Indoors, Marnie confides in him about her violent marriage. The more Tama sees, the more the animal and the human worlds, and all the precarity, darkness, and hope within them, bleed into one another. Like a stock truck filled with live cargo, the story moves toward its dramatic conclusion, the annual Axmans Carnival. I have no idea what any of that means, but I'm intrigued. It sounds like we have a talking bird, so we have magical realism elements. It also sounds like we have conflict within a marriage, and I am really curious to see what all of that means. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like books that are narrated by animals or ones that involve talking animals, but I usually am okay with that, so I'm really interested in this just because it seems like such an extreme tilt away from the types of books she usually writes, so we will see where this one goes. Hey everyone, voiceover Gretchen here. I realized that I forgot to mention another book that's being released on the week of August 13th, and that is The Fertile Earth by Ruthvika Rao. This is a book that I think that it fell off my radar because I think they may have actually moved the publication date up from September, but regardless, this is a book that was on a lot of people's Booker Prize predictions list, and it just sounds like an excellent book, and I'm excited for it. So just a little bit about it. It says that it's an unforgettable story of love and resistance surrounding two young people born across social lines set against a tumultuous political landscape in India. So it sounds like it's going to be one of those big epic type sagas, and you know that I am here for those types of books. So once again, The Fertile Earth by Ruthvika Rao. Next, we cruise into the week of August 20th, and we have a very anticipated release, and you've probably been hearing a lot about this book already. There's a new book from Elif Shafak called There Are Rivers in the Sky, and this is being released by Knopf. Now, this was one of my personal predictions for the Booker Prize long list, and although it didn't make the cut, I'm still really excited for this one. This sounds super interesting, and it has a unique plot, as do all of Shafak's books. And basically, the poem of the Epic of Gilgamesh survived in the ruins of Mesopotamia, and it eventually impacts the lives of three characters in the future, and it's set in 3 dates. So it says in 1940 London, Arthur is born beside the stinking sewage-filled River Thames with an abusive alcoholic father and a mentally ill mother. Arthur's only chance of escaping destitution is his brilliant memory. When his gift earns him a spot as an apprentice at a leading publisher, Arthur's world opens up far beyond the slums, and one book in particular catches his interest, Nineveh and its Remains. Then in 2014 Turkey, Naren, a 10-year-old Yazidi girl, is diagnosed with a rare disorder that will soon cause her to go deaf. Before that happens, her grandmother is determined to baptize her in a sacred Iraqi temple, but with the rising presence of ISIS and the destruction of the family's ancestral lands along the Tigris, Naren is running out of time. And then in 2018 London, the newly divorced Salika, a hydrologist, moves into a houseboat on the Thames to escape her husband. Orphaned and raised by her wealthy uncle, Salika had made the decision to take her own life in 1 month until a curious book about her homeland changes everything. So I love the idea of something ancient bringing people in the future together, and I love when you have separate plot lines but there is a thread connecting them all, and then pair that with Elif Shafak's beautiful writing style. I think that this is going to be a book that ends up being on a lot of people's end of year best lists, and we will see. I know that she has a lot of fans, and there are a lot of people that are probably having this on their most anticipated books as well, so I think we'll be hearing a lot about this one over the next few months. Next we have The Instrumentalist by Harriet Constable, and this is being published by Simon & Schuster, and this is another book that sounds like it is right up my alley. It's a piece of historical fiction, and it says Anna Maria della Pieta was destined to drown in one of Venice's canals. Instead, she became the greatest violinist of the 18th century. Anna Maria has only known life inside the Pieta, an orphanage for children born of prostitutes. But the girls of the Pieta are lucky in a sense. Most babies born of their station were drowned in the city's canals. And despite the strict rules, the girls are given singing and music lessons from an early age. The most promising musicians have the chance to escape the fate of the rest, forced marriage to anyone who will have them. Anna Maria is determined to be the best violinist there is, and whatever Anna Maria sets out to do, she achieves. After all, the stakes for Anna could not be higher, but it is 1704 and she is a girl. The purest of her ambition will test everything she holds dear, especially when it becomes clear that her instructor, Antonio Vivaldi, will teach Anna everything he knows, but not without taking something in return. From the opulent palaces of Venice to its mud-licked canals, The Instrumentalist is a portrait of opportunities dangled only to be snatched away. It is the story of one woman's irrepressible ambition and rise to the top, and it is the story of the orphans of Venice who overcame destitution and abuse to make music, and whose contributions to some of the most important works of classical music, including The Four Seasons, have been overlooked for too long. For fans of The Queen's Gambit and Fingersmith, The Instrumentalist is a searing exploration of art and ambition, genius and exploitation, and loss and triumph. So that sounds fantastic. I love historical fiction, and I love when we're talking about real life people and real life characters, and this is something that I was not aware of at all. So I think this is going to be one of those books where I am learning a lot, and I absolutely love anything to do with music, and especially the violin. I played the violin when I was a kid, so there's a special part of my heart that belongs with violinists, so I think I'm really going to enjoy this book. One final book that's being released the week of August 20th is The Volcano Daughters by Gina Maria Balibrera, and this is being released by Pantheon. Now, this book is set in El Salvador in 1923, and it says, Graciela, a young girl growing up on a volcano in a community of indigenous women, is summoned to the capital where she is claimed as an oracle for a rising dictator. There she meets Consuelo, the sister she has never known, who was stolen from their home before Graciela was born. The two spend years under the cruel El Gran Pendeos regime, unwillingly helping the reign of terror until genocide strikes the community from which they hail. Each believing the other to be dead, they escape, fleeing across the globe, reinventing themselves until fate ultimately brings them back together in the most unlikely of ways. Endlessly surprising, vividly imaginative, bursting with lush life, The Volcano Daughters charts a new history and mythology of El Salvador, fiercely bringing forth voices that have been calling out for generations. I think that sounds really great. I love a good book about sisters. The fact that this is about indigenous women, it's set in a place and time that I'm not terribly familiar with. I think that this definitely has the potential to be a really gripping read, and I'm definitely definitely looking forward to it. So finally, we have the week of August 27th, and there's only one book that I want to talk about, but it sounds like a really good one, and it is called That Librarian, The Fight Against Book Banning in America by Amanda Jones, and this is being published by Pantheon. And this, from the publisher's website, says, this is part memoir, part manifesto, the inspiring story of a Louisiana librarian advocating for inclusivity on the front lines of our vicious culture wars. One of the things small-town librarian Amanda Jones values more about books is how they can affirm a young person's sense of self. So in 2022, when she caught wind of a local public hearing that would discuss book content, she knew what was at stake. Schools and libraries nationwide have been bombarded by demands for books with LGBTQ+ references, discussions of racism, and more to be purged from the shelves. Amanda would be damned if her community were to ban stories representing minority groups. She spoke out that night at the meeting. Days later, she woke up to a nightmare that is still ongoing. Amanda Jones has been called a groomer, a pedo, a porn pusher. She has faced death threats and attacks from strangers and friends alike. Her decision to support a collection of books with diverse perspectives made her a target for extremists by book banning campaigns funded by dark money organizations and advanced hard-right politicians in a crusade to make America more white, straight, and Christian. But Amanda Jones wouldn't give up without a fight. She sued her harassers for defamation and urged others to join her in the resistance. Mapping the book banning crisis occurring all across the nation, That Librarian draws the battle lines in the war against equity and inclusion, calling book lovers everywhere to rise in defense of our readers. So I think that speaks for itself. I think that that sounds like a very important read, and I'm really interested to dig into the politics behind all of that and learn more about her court case and how she came out on the other side of all of that. So I'm expecting that to be a very, very eye-opening read for sure. And there you have it. Those are my most anticipated releases for this August. We have a good wide array of books that made the list. We have some literary fiction, some dystopian, some translated, some nonfiction. There's probably something in there for everyone. So I hope that you can find a book that you're interested in reading. And until we read again, bye.